Welcome back to the Titanium Hanger. This is Mike. I'm coming at you with another video. This time I want to talk to you about the Weijing KO oversized version of MP-33. It's MPP-33 fire engines, and it's the 12-inch version. It's not exactly 12 inches, but it's the 12-inch scale, and I'm going to show you the comparison to the official. Now, that's how you can tell the size difference. Now, I've done several of these 12-inch videos, and I actually held off on getting him because I didn't like the way the original one looked here, and then I don't think Weijing fixed everything I wanted with it. But before we get into this, I'm going to go down a little quick history lesson about the 12-inch line. In the beginning, Takara created MP-01 Optimus Prime and said it was good. And it was. For the time, it had better articulation, a lot of die-cast, really heavy, looked really good, and so this is the beginning of Masterpiece. The very beginning of Masterpiece. And so for me, this is the scale of Masterpiece 12-inch. And then you got MP-05. MP-05 was poorly made, poorly designed, and falls apart. But if you manipulate it just right, you can make it pose decent on a shelf. And it was sought after for a while as the only Megatron in a 12-inch scale, and it was the only Megatron we had officially until MP-36. But for almost a decade, or maybe over a decade, he reigned supreme as the Masterpiece Megatron. MP-10 brought new changes with a new size and a new scale, and they just kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and further away from my 12-inch scale. So I go out of my way to find anything released that's 12-inch, that's in line with the original Masterpiece scale, including this MPP-33. And of course, Sideswipe, Ironhide, Ratchet, and the oversized version of Bumblebee. And the oversized Grimlock. And of course, the new redesigned MPP-10, which started off the new modern day craze of upsizing the 9-inch figures. And this was the beginning of the upsizing of 9-inch figures, and then they went into some others. So we're going to get into kind of a review and a comparison of the MPP-33 and start with the box. Here is the box. MPP-33, fire engines, the side, the back, and in no means does Weijing ever try to knock off the original look, because there's the original look, and they look nothing alike. Completely different. Which is something that makes people actually want to go after Weijing more, because Weijing does their own thing, and we know it's better quality and upgraded and all that stuff. So let's start with a good solid comparison to the original. This guy is looking pretty good. I can't seem to get my gun stand up there. But from the front side, if you see, they're exactly the same. But the big difference is that the ratchets, well, these are actually decent ratchets in here, but it feels so tiny. It almost feels like you're messing with a G1 figure versus a Masterpiece. And these ratchets are much tighter, but they're probably because they're bigger, and it has to support a little bit more weight. And the weight behind this is significantly more than the official. This guy here, it's not very floppy, but it is older and it has been through a little bit more. Okay, let's do a side view on these guys, and you can see just how they look from the side. Let's get more of a side. There are not nearly as many changes, which, if there are any at all, because I didn't see any changes at all to these figures. So, to the other ones. So the Ironhide, the Ratchet, they had a lot of changes. And MPP-10, they fixed a lot of things on MP-10 when they made MPP-10, and I really wished that they would have made, sad to say, a 9-inch one, because that would have been almost a perfect Prime, and this Prime Wars thing wouldn't have been as big of a deal. Because MP-10 is a good figure, but he has issues, and Weijing fixed almost all those for me. Another size comparison there. And I do kind of like how all of the features carry over. They have all the same accessories and all of that. And I'm not gonna lie, I really thought there'd be like another version of this coming out that fixed this waist piece here. And I'm gonna show you why I have a problem with that waist piece. Okay, so here's a comparison between Takara version of this mold and then the MMC version of this mold. Now, MMC is a good company that's all over the place. There are some releases that I think are horrible, some releases that I think are great. But you see the waist on this guy? It just looks so much better. And if I could get that in here and show you, if you can see that this waist just looks all giant chunky. This is cartoon accurate though, but I like the look of that one so much more. And the problem is though that nothing's perfect, because look at this big old giant hook hanging off the back of him, which Takara collapsed it all inside the chest, the back or chest cavity. I like the back of this better. I mean, I wish I could get one that was perfect. I like chrome pieces, not painted black plastic. But if I'm going to have two different characters that are mold mates, I like having two different companies. I like having Takara, MMC, and I hope they don't put out a grapple just like this. Just kind of like they did with their Ironhide Ratchet. I don't want that. I want something different. I want Weijing to change some elements to make grapple look different, look better, narrower waist, something. But you know, you don't always get what you want, because I want everything at 12-inch scale, and I haven't got that yet, so we're working on it. Now, the other reason I just didn't really want to get this one is because my 12-inch shelf isn't huge, and these guys are big and take up a lot of space. But the problem is, most of the good guys they put out are red. Like, they have put out 4 red 12-inch scale figures. And I do want to comment on this guy over here. I wish Sideswipe, I am perfectly happy with the size of him as a Carbot. And if Masterpiece Scale would have made the Carbots this size and they didn't fit in the trailer and they didn't all match up in car mode, I still would have felt good, because I think this looks good. Now, sound off in the comments if you think this looks bad. I'm curious, because I think this is the size of what my Carbots. They're not as small as the regular ones. They're not as big as Prime. That's a good size to me, and I think when you watch the cartoon and a lot of the different angles, that fits and that works. But again, I like the 12-inch scale. Iron Man superhero pose, you gonna take it? Will you accept it? I accept it. I think it's good. I think it works. What do you think? Good enough articulation for you? Hold yourself up there, buddy. One upgrade I want to point out is individually articulated fingers on the Weijing versus the official, with just kind of the half swivel typewriter fingers there going on. And then I do want to point out one downside to this is that the ab crunch, it's kind of floppy and it wants to fall apart there. So that is kind of a pain. So anyway, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the scale that you prefer. Is it 12-inch, 9-inch? Is 12-inch too big? Is 12-inch just right? Do you like the 9-inch? Did you even notice they changed it? And the lack thereof, bad guys in 12-inch scale. You just have Megatron with Weijing and then some Seekers. But, Teddy Hanger, out.